I'm going to start with a quote. Consider how hard it is to change yourself, and you'll understand what little chance you have in trying to change others. Now, let this quote simmer at the back of your head. Done? All right, who here has enjoyed a bonfire? Bonfire, oh, everyone, almost everyone. Bonfires are great. We associate fire with warmth and rituals, Ubud, and adventure. And we love sitting around a fire, roasting food, and watching this flame dance as it incinerates wood, and you can hear this crackle coming out. It appeals to all the senses. So right now, close your eyes. Imagine you're sitting by the fire. Except you are in a small kitchen with bad ventilation. Your face is red from all the heat. Sweat streaming down, soaking your clothes. And your eyes hurt from the smoke. And you can hear your child coughing in the next room. But you have to stay there. Otherwise, your family would not have any food or safe drinking water for the day. Now, open your eyes. 2.8 billion people, that's 40% of the world's population, rely on firewood, charcoal, crop waste, and other solid fuels for daily cooking. In Indonesia, 2 out of 5 families have to start this fire every day. And cooking with solid fuel releases toxic particles into the air, raising the risks of respiratory infection, asthma, tuberculosis, and lung cancer. And look at this audience, the size of this audience, 450 people. That's how many people die a premature death every day in Indonesia from household air pollution. And really, by people, I mean women, wives, mothers, grandmothers, young children, those who are disproportionately affected because they are the ones spending hours every day in this environment. But my organization and I want to change this, and so we turn to technology. This biomass stove uses 50% less wood and produces little to no smoke, so it significantly lowers the health and safety risks to the users. The only catch is you have to chop the wood into smaller pieces and pack them densely in the cylinder. And through our work with local women micro-entrepreneurs, we've distributed 10,000 stoves all across Indonesia. Thank you. Thank you. And people who buy the stove live with about $1.50 per person per day. The stove costs $25. So it's not a small purchase. But we believe that people who invest in a solution, instead of getting them for free, value and use it more. So far, so good. One day early last year, we met Mrs. Alex. Mrs. Alex is a housewife in Kefa, West Timor. So she was really excited when she bought a stove, knowing all the benefits it will bring her and her family. Fast forward 6 months later, we visited her house to find her yet again cooking with this fuel-hungry, dangerous, and smoky open fire. We asked her, what's going on here? Is your stove broken or stolen? What can we do about it? She said, no, the stove is fine. My son, though, wakes up too late in the morning and is too lazy to chop wood, and I really don't want to spend so much time assembling firewood when I can just burn it like that, etc., etc., etc. What it boils down to is this. She made a goal to live better when she bought the stove, but each time she needs to show a little effort, some effort, to reach the goal. She decides, hey, I'd rather be doing something else. And this baffled us. Why would you buy something that's not cheap and don't use it? Especially when you know that something could potentially prevent fatal illnesses in the long run. And not just her, 20-30% of people who bought the stove aren't using it as often as they wanted to for the same trivial reasons. But in the social and public health sector, we see this behavior a lot. We've seen tuberculosis patients who stopped going to their medication appointments, not because they want to be sick again with the stronger and the more drug-resistant strain. They just don't feel like making the trip. We see farmers who sell their wet crop for fast cash when they could wait until the crop dries and get more money for it. And people out there, some of them receive financial assistance, but they gambled any money they have on them. Very often, solutions don't work because of people's failure to act, to wait, to control their impulses, knowing full well the importance of health, financial security, education, and everything else these long-term commitments stand for. So we want to know why. We look into development studies that try to explain how disadvantaged people think and decide differently than we do because of their living conditions. Is it the low quality of education? Is it the high cost of getting information in remote areas? Is it the tendency to take higher risks among those with lower or more irregular income? Now, before I started working in the social sector, I studied decision science, which is a bit odd because if you met me at the ice cream stand, you would know I'm very indecisive. But decision science, it is a combination of economics, which have come up with all these standard models of behavior based on expected returns. And on the other hand, psychology, which explores how biased, socially influenced, and emotional we are when we make our decisions. So borrowing the lens of decision science, let's think in very simple terms. What do these people, Bu Alex and the gambler, the farmer, the tuberculosis patients, what do people in these situations have in common? They were all faced with a decision, sticking to a commitment with bigger benefits in the future or getting smaller gains right now, even if it means extra time to sit around the house or not having to do something. And which one would you pick? Eyes on the prize, right? Well, it turns out that our brain is hardwired to overvalue smaller but immediate gratifications and discount rewards, bigger rewards that come later in the future. It's called the present bias. The economist Richard Thaler explains it like this. We have a future-oriented planner self and a present-oriented doer self. The planner self lives at the prefrontal cortex of our brain. She's this rational person who knows what's best for us and is basically the one making to-do lists, resolutions, plans. The doer self is part of our mammalian brain right here in the limbic system. The doer self ensures our survival. So she rewards anything that makes us feel good, safe, full, happy, comfy, right now, whatever it takes. So you can tell she's naturally very good friends with temptations. And you can tell that these two don't always agree. Just like how the optimistic Lana, who set the alarm the night before, and the sleepy Lana, who wakes up to that same alarm, don't always agree that 5 a.m. is a good idea. So, two selves, two systems that value rewards differently within the same person are the bane of all long-term commitments to health, financial security, education, to lower household air pollution. The planner self in Mrs. Alex wants to preserve everyone's lungs for a longer life, but the doer self in her would rather do something else, anything else than chop and assemble firewood every morning. And the doer often wins. We think it's irrational. All of it, she's irrational. But doesn't this sound kind of familiar? We all struggle with the present bias, the procrastinator in us, the New Year resolution maker breakers, the One day I'll quit smokers, the gym's best customers, because they pay up front but never come. And some of you are all of them rolled into one, good Lord. We all struggle with this. Let's take, for example, the decision to quit smoking. I'm gonna lose half of my friends after this goes up. I don't care. Decision to quit smoking. There are 60 million smokers in Indonesia. That's 1 in 3 adults. And a study found that 50% of all smokers want to quit. You see, this is the planner side speaking. I want to quit. But only 10% want to quit in the next 12 months. The doer poked and say, hey, let's be real. One day, not this year though. And we don't have any data on how many actually quit, how many percentage actually quit, but you can imagine it must be even lower than that. Let's say 5%. That means only 1 in 10 people who wanted to quit smoking actually succeeded in sticking to that goal. And those of you who don't smoke say, smokers, I'm a healthy person. Healthy people. How many of you have health club or gym memberships or yoga studio passes? Raise your hand. Yeah, quite some. See, healthy people. Now, how many of you go as often as you would like when you first bought it? Oh, good for you. But it works every time. Membership signups increase significantly in January because that's when all the long-term planners make their New Year's resolutions. And then it kind of tapers off in March as the doers take over. It's very good for business. That's how it works. See, it's very familiar. So, really, acting against our better judgment is not the problem of the poor. It's a problem of everyone. And when you think about it, many problems we face in the modern world stem from our attraction that is stronger towards fast lanes, quick fixes, and magic bullets than to mundane and iterative but proven solutions that bring bigger benefits in the future. And what does it say about our work in the social sector? First, we often assume that people we want to help, poor, marginalized, living in remote areas, are somehow different from us. We expect them to be better planners because they have less and need more, when really we all struggle with the same self-control problems, biases, and other decision pitfalls. And second, there's this notion that a perfectly designed technology automatically solves complex problems like poverty and poor health. The stove works. It's a perfect, brilliant solution. But the real solution, that is, everyone who buy one benefits from regular use, only works 70 to 80% of the time. For it to work 100% of the time, there's a very essential aspect: the human. So knowing this, what can we do to help Mrs. Alex? Should we go with the doer side? Can we introduce another type of stove that is not as fuel efficient, but is more convenient to use, like the rocket type stove? You don't have to chop wood, just shove it in and be done with. Would she use it more? Can we strengthen the planner side? Would showing long-term health costs, making it more visible, like using the same strategy as those scary images on the cigarette packages, encourage her to stick her to the goal? This is only 27% effective to make smokers quit, by the way. So combining all these things, experimenting with different adjustments, and working with people who use the solution daily is, I think, the right way to go. But it's not something that the social sector does enough of. For-profits, in comparison, use decision science extensively. Take Amazon, for example. Same-day shipping, one-click purchase, dash buttons, and drone delivery. Companies spend millions to figure out how we think and decide because their profit hangs on our satisfaction and continuous use. In the social sector, billions of dollars are spent each year as we try to find solutions to the world's biggest problems. So we come up with all these comprehensive multi-year plans, programs from the top down, But the programs end when the beneficiaries get their aid, when the aid gets to the beneficiaries. We rarely dig from the bottom up to figure out how people we seek to help think and respond to the solution that we offer them. So, when we want to change others, think back to the quote from earlier. What would it take to change us? Combining rigorous research in empathy to get to the solution that works for the human, despite the human, will help us get better impact through our actions. And who knows, we might even learn a thing or two about ourselves. Thank you.